Aloha. My name is Dr. Steve Singer. I'm your instructor here for ICS 101, Digital Tools for the Information World. I want to welcome you to this class. Give you a brief overview of the class. The class is broken up into two major sections. First section deals with issues and concepts related to information technology, things like security, which is a big thing these days, privacy, technology trends, that sort of thing. And then business applications. In particular, we're looking at Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access. Now, this is an online class, and there are certain advantages and disadvantages to taking an online class. First of all, you need to be disciplined. You need to be sure you attend the class, that is, do the work for the class on a very regular basis. Now, this is going to mean probably more than just once a week on the weekends kind of thing. You have to be sure you do it. A lot of times people have kind of an out of sight, out of mind attitude. They don't show up at class and they forget about it. Well, that's not going to work for this class. You have to be motivated. You have to want to do the class. Okay, to be successful in this class, you have to be good at reading and following directions. There's a lot of content in the class. There's a lot of reading. I also try to produce a lot of things in video format. There's a lot of directions. You got to be able to follow these things in order. 1, 2, 3, 4. You skip a direction and you're going to screw up. Follow the directions. Now, of course, an online class is extremely convenient. You can do so, you can take the class and go through the material any time of the day, at home, at the library, at work, whatever you want. That's nice. I mean, you can be dressed up or you can be in your shorts or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. And you can save a certain amount of time and money because you don't have to spend gas or pay for parking or anything, and you don't have to spend half an hour to driving back and forth. You don't have to have hire a babysitter or anything. You just do it from wherever. It's fine. But of course, when you take this kind of class, there is a shift in responsibility. Now, if you were to take this class on campus, the college would assume the responsibility for making sure that the computers that you use, both in the classroom and in the lab, are correctly configured, that have all of the software that you need, and make sure that there's an internet connection and everything is working. But since you have elected to take this class online, now you are the responsible party. You must be sure that the internet is working and that you have all the software you need. You cannot simply say, oh, I'm sorry, the internet was down. No. This was your choice. You're responsible. So please be sure that you're ready to be that responsible. All right, let's look over some of the required materials for this class. Now, this class has 3 major required items. There's the Technology in Action text, there's the Exploring Microsoft Office text, and there's the My IT Lab Student Access Code. Now, these are bundled together if you buy them at the Kapiolani bookstore, or you can also purchase them online through the Pearson site. It's actually myitlab.com. Now, you also need access to a computer, obviously. You need one that has Windows 10 operating system, Word 2016, Excel 2016, PowerPoint 2016, and Access 2016. Now, you could pick up a free copy if you want. I explain this in the orientation letter of Microsoft Office 365, which is basically simply another licensing of Office 2016. I highly recommend you use a Windows machine. That is not a Mac. A Mac is not going to have Access. That is the application Access, the database program Access. So you're going to miss out on a fair amount of the course. Of course, you also need to have a fast, stable internet connection, and you need some storage space for all the various project files that we're going to be doing for the class. Now, this is a full semester class, 16 weeks. There's something due each week. And I'm very firm on the due dates. There's something due each week. You must submit everything by the due date. Now, this is a college course, so we expect a certain amount of collegiate behavior. That is, you should have a positive attitude. You should have a cooperative spirit because you're going to be talking and communicating with your fellow classmates. And you should have respect for yourself and, of course, for others. So you should behave and act and communicate in an appropriate manner. As I mentioned earlier, you need to have everything submitted by the due dates. And, of course, you must do your own work. You cannot submit somebody else's work and expect to get credit. If you cheat, that is, you turn in somebody else's work, you will be flagged as having turned in an integrity violation, and you will not receive the points for that particular assessment. I highly recommend that, as I'm warning you, don't do it. Turn in your own work. Okay, so how does this course work exactly? Now, again, I mentioned there's issues and concepts. Now, for that part of the course, there are only 3 major parts to it. There are discussion logs that you do for each chapter. The expectation here is that you respond to an original posting that I put up, and then you respond to that, and that you respond to 2 other students' postings. This is explained in my IT lab as well. Okay. Also, for each chapter, there's a quiz. There's a 10-point, 10-minute quiz. Yes, that's very fast, and it's that way for a very express purpose. You need to have read and gone through the material prior to taking the quiz. You cannot go through the quiz and look through the textbook and expect to have enough time to answer all the questions. It just doesn't work that way. You have to go through the material before you take the quiz. Now, for every quiz and exam, you will have 2 opportunities. You have 2 attempts, and I will take the higher of the 2 attempts. If you take it one time and you're satisfied, you're done. But you do have a second time. And as I mentioned, you have 2 exams. There's a midterm, which covers chapters 1 through 4 in the Tech in Action book, and then a final exam, which covers chapters 5 through 9 in the Tech in Action book. Okay. Now, the other part of the course deals primarily with the business applications. That's the POTC textbook. It has all these hands-on exercises. It helps you understand the various applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access. Now, there's a whole bunch of materials in the class for study. And then there are all these work for assessment, some projects and quizzes for assessment. Again, each chapter has a short quiz, 10 questions, 10 minutes. And then there are the grader projects. And the grader projects work in a very clean and specific way. There are starter files you have to download, and there are instruction files you download. You follow the instructions in the file and perform the various modifications to your starter file. Save the file and submit it. Now, you receive very quick, that is within a minute or 2, feedback. Okay, so actually after you submit the file, you can go to the grade book, go to the week in which you're working at, and you can see your score. And if you click on the score, it should be a blue link there. The score should be blue. You can get the feedback. It's very fast, very detailed feedback on your score, what you did right and what you didn't do right. I highly recommend you look through this, especially you have 2 attempts again, and you can get some good feedback on what you did wrong and hopefully correct the problem. Now, besides the assessed grader projects, there are homework projects as well. Although the assessments, you only have 2 attempts. On the homework, you have an unlimited number of attempts. The same kind of policy applies. You submit it, the same due dates, everything. You get the same kind of feedback, the same competencies, a slightly different case, but it's the same things that you're studying and learning. And again, I'm sorry. If you do well on these, that is 70% or higher. That is 70% or higher. You get 5 points extra credit. So what the heck? Give it a shot. Okay, now within each of the weeks, if you go to course materials within my IT lab, you see that I've laid out each week in pretty much the exact same way and exact same order. And I've done so for a very specific reason, to help you learn the material in the best and fastest way possible. Now, the material almost always begins with either kind of a PowerPoint lecture or a short little video that's kind of a preview of the content. This is an audio video kind of thing, and you can just kind of listen to it and get a good overview of the material. Then there's a link to the e-text. Now, whether or not you've purchased the hard copy or not, you should have an active link to the e-text for both the Tech in Action and for the office materials. Now, within the e-text, there are also links to a variety of different media files, sound bites, help desk calls, etc. Now, you can access those media files directly through the e-text, or you can look at them through the practice folder where there are links separately there. Okay, now within the Tech in Action, I've organized that content and I put them into 4 different folders. You have instruction, you have a practice, review, and assessment folders. Within the instruction folder, you have those preview videos, PowerPoint, and the e-text. That's purely for studying and learning. And in the practice folder, you have the various media files that I mentioned that you can also access via the e-text, or you can do them separately through the practice folder. Then you have a practice quiz. A practice quiz is exactly as it sounds. It's a practice. There's no points assigned. It's just practice. You get an idea of what kinds of questions are going to be asked. Again, what kinds of questions, not the exact questions, but the kinds of questions and the kinds of content that are being looked for. Then you have a review section, review folder. There it goes. There's some review videos, and there are a couple more quizzes that are called Check Your Understanding. Again, those are kind of practice quizzes, no points assigned or anything, just help you make sure you understand the content of the chapter. Then in the assessment folder, there's those discussion logs, again, one for every chapter, and a quiz, 10-point, 10 minutes quiz. Now, the quiz covers the PowerPoint, the textbook, the sound bites, the help desk calls, all that media. Okay, so I mentioned the quizzes. Now, there are quizzes on both sides. There's the Tech in Action quizzes and there are office quizzes. There are exams. There's Tech in Action, midterm and final. There's also an Office 10 exam, I guess. It's a multiple choice exam. And there's also a skills-based grader project, which is more Office-based than it is Windows-based. It deals with the fundamental, common, core features of Office. Grader projects I mentioned. It's only in the office. You have the homework, which is extra credit, and you have the assessments, which are required. And about week 14, we have a section on NetLab. Now, NetLab is the simulated virtual network that we have. It'll help you study and do different things on virtual machines, and you do them on the virtual machine so that you don't accidentally hurt your own machine. I don't want you to screw up your own machine. I'm not trying to get you to do that. But by using these virtual machines, you can learn about configuring different things and applying firewalls and that sort of thing. You can then later on, if you like, apply those same kinds of things to your real machine, but I'm not going to ask you to do it to your real machine. You can use these virtual machines in a nice, safe, controlled environment. Now, one of the ways that we're going to communicate the most is probably through email. You should use this email here at singer@hawaii.edu. That's the best way to contact me. Okay? So what should you do now? Well, familiarize yourself with the site and the tools. You're already in the site, so just get familiar with it. Look around. Carefully read through the syllabus, the orientation letter, and the schedule. Introduce yourself in that Aloha discussion log that's in week 1, and take the syllabus schedule quiz, which is week 2. Starting in week 3, I'm going to be sending out some emails to everybody, kind of as reminders, helping you keep on top of everything. I'm also going to try to set up a little Google Calendar for you, so that if you want to, you can subscribe to the calendar, and that will show up automatically on your phone if you have a smartphone. Okay, guys, Hang in there. Do a good job. I'll talk to you later. Aloha.